Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Let's talk about Bitcoin and its correlated assets. A lot of people are feeling more and more comfortable talking trash about miners, about people who are bullish on miners, about Bitcoin, about altcoins. There are more and more people starting to talk trash on X. I made a post here yesterday, and I really thought there was a lot of confluence in terms of what's happening right now. This is a daily chart of Bitcoin. You can see that really what has been doing was to flip the 48K resistance over here and over here. That's been going on for a few years, and it flipped over from resistance back into support, right? That's a pretty bullish development. Another thing also, just basically throughout the entire bull trend here since the cycle bottom, you can do a very nice pitchfork, and it can touch a lot of points, especially this median right here. You can see that usually it serves as support, a little bit of resistance there, support, broke down underneath over here, back test of 48K, and they had a V-shaped recovery, came back down and kind of tested that support, right? Currently price is above this level right now. And if you're also thinking about the greater scheme of things in terms of where price would go, if this is it, if we end up bouncing from the current level around 59K, where would it go? Well, it depends. If it ends up being the support level over here, I can probably see price count maybe gravitating over here, maybe towards the end of the bull market. It has like a little bit more parabolic movement, touches the top part of this pitchfork right here. Or you can have a cycle ending anywhere around here too. This doesn't have to be, but that's certainly an idea in terms of what it could do if it rising up the channel to the top part right here, and that could be the end of the cycle, and you can, followed by a pretty significant bear market after that. That's kind of what I'm thinking now. Just look at Bitcoin. What is it doing right now? I got one word for you. I think Bitcoin is under resistance, and it is under resistance from multiple time frame. If you just look at the Ichimoku cloud here, it's pretty clear. You're under resistance here of the Tenkan, which is around 59,500, right? Look at a lower time frame on the 2-day. You're underneath the Tenkan and Kishin, the red and blue line over here. Let me see. The weekly looks like it might want to start turn positive in about a week or two. On the 2-day, it looks like it may already be starting to turn positive here. A little bit of bull flag look to it, but it's underneath resistance of the Tenkan and Kishin, right around 59,500. Look at the daily chart. It's under resistance over here at the Kijun, at the red line, 59,500. Looking at some of the lower time frame charts here, let's look at the 4 hours right here. It's underneath a negative sloping Tenkan, the blue line over there. Right now it's trying to get above that, but it's still a little bit indecisive too. If you look at the trend, the wave trend oscillator, look at the 2-day underneath resistance. What is the number right there? It's around 59,700. Maybe it's turning a little bit bullish over here on the 2-hour time frame. 1-hour time frame turning a little bit bullish, but it's underneath resistance of the cloud, right? Where's the bottom of the cloud right here? Bottom of the cloud is around 59,800. Looking at lower time frame, 30 minutes is under resistance. Yes, it's inside a cloud, and it's underneath the top part of the cloud right there. The top part of the cloud is 59,595. Looking at a 15-minute chart, I can keep going all day. Where's the resistance on top of the cloud right there? 59,578. Right. Still a positive trend going on the short time period. So really in all time frames, all the way from the weekly to the daily, you're really talking about currently at resistance for Bitcoin, right? And that's just what it is. It is underneath resistance, and because we did end up breaking down, we have a very, very nice V-shaped recovery. And now we have to get over the Tenkan and Kijun on the weekly chart before we can really start resuming the bull trend, right? Now, the funny thing, not so funny, the interesting thing that's going on right now is I think Ethereum actually looks like on a shorter time frame, looks pretty decent. On a higher time frame, I mean, obviously it's still underperforming Bitcoin, right? Like, look at how far extended downwards Ethereum is compared to Bitcoin, compared to its previous high, right? The thing about Ethereum, though, is on a lower time frame, it actually looks a lot better. On the daily chart, it's starting to try and reclaim some of the, resistance into support here. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One is on the 4-hour time frame is at resistance right now, which is why price is having a little bit of a hard time to break above the current level here around 2730. On the 2-hour chart, it's going to show you something that's actually pretty nice that has happened recently. you have a very, very nice ascending triangle over here. Very, very nice ascending triangle over here. And you have the horizontal level probably somewhere around here, around like 2700, somewhere around there, right? So far, I mean, this is a 2-hour candle. I think this 2-hour candle is going to close in about 8 minutes or 9 or 8 minutes or so. If it closes above that, then you really have the first candle is really closing about this horizontal range of about 27,000, and that could potentially allow price to continue up. And you also still have the favorable, oscillator over here, right? On 1 hour, also, just a little bit of closer zoom out here. Tenkin's rising, and currently price seems to be a little bit outside here. So again, this candle is going to close about 8 minutes or so. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, Ethereum actually looks pretty decent. Now, that's a very, very interesting thing, because if you look overall, we think that altcoins basically more or less kind of underperform Bitcoin, right? And that's been the case for a very, very long time. But Ethereum, even on the monthly chart, if it's able to close this month above the cloud, I'm very happy. Right now, top of the cloud is $2,708. And right now, price is able to kind of get back above of that, right? If it closes above the cloud, I still think that this is just basically a breakout of the cloud and backtest the cloud. I still think that overall is looking pretty bullish here. Look at the Bitcoin dominance. I think something very interesting is happening. And I have to kind of zoom back out here. Not the greatest labeled chart here, but just look at what happened last season versus this season, right? You have a Bitcoin top that happened over here, which happened about 1.5 years after your halving, right? So what happened with that was that you have the Bitcoin dominance trying to do a little bit of a false breakout above the monthly Ichimoku cloud and got rejected, right? And this got rejected, that's when you have a really powerful altcoin season that was happening all the way from January to December, right? Over here, what do we have here? Well, we have the Bitcoin dominance trying to break above the cloud over here. Well, what about it? Is this a bullish thing for Bitcoin dominance? I'm not sure, right? Because right now you're hitting cloud systems. This may be a little bit of like a false breakout. It does look like the trend is a little bit exhausting. And I can tell you that like this trend from here to here was completely exhausted, because just look at the wave trend also, is just completely plummeting down, right? And then also if you zoom in over here on the current cycle, if you just zoom in over here, this trend, this move up right here has been on a bearish divergence. So I also think that this trend over here is getting a little bit exhausted. So it's not surprising right now you're actually seeing that altcoins are starting to rally, and seeing altcoins overall seem to be rallying a little bit harder than Bitcoin after this big giant drop, which is not entirely surprising to me just based on where we are currently at the cycle, right? I'm going to go through a few other stocks here, everything that I generally go through. The very first thing is MicroStrategy. Do I think MicroStrategy still look bullish? Yes, because you still have price currently above the Tenkin and Kijun. On the monthly, it still looks like a very nice bull flag. It still looks like it wants to have some bullish continuation. And this is happening really across different time frame. I would like to see MicroStrategy reclaiming this Kijun level over here, around 133.2, if at all possible. But right now, yeah, it's struggling underneath resistance, kind of like Bitcoin. But overall, I still think that MicroStrategy just looks a lot stronger than Bitcoin. And I know that to be the case because if I look at the MicroStrategy over the Bitcoin chart, you can almost see that like it wants to break above back under the Tenkin. The overall trend for the MicroStrategy over Bitcoin chart has been up. Higher lows and higher highs. It just looks like the cycle is not yet over. If you're asking me in terms of where I think price could be, we'd like to see if it's able to close this week on the ratio, and also close about the Kijun here. I think that would be a bullish development. So I want to see price close about 133.21. If not, yeah, you're probably going to end up going sideways, maybe down a little bit to hit the cloud here before going up. But based on the way that I'm looking at Bitcoin's behaving, and based on the fact that MicroStrategy seems to be outperforming Bitcoin here a little bit, I just have a hard time seeing it. The other stock is Coinbase. Coinbase is not as strong as Bitcoin because it's underneath both the Tenkin and Kijun. It's not, it's about, not as bullish as MicroStrategy, and it's also, not as bullish as Bitcoin, right? But I cannot really count out Coinbase because I totally see this chart closing back above the tank and the blue line over here by the end of the month around 199 currently. I can totally see price closing above that just because how possibly sloped this Tenkan has been, which should serve as some pretty decent support, right? The it did start to lose a little bit more, resistance. Oh, sorry, lose a little bit of support here. I can totally see it kind of get close to the Subici cloud here on the weekly before going up. And this is just nothing more than just, this little rejection over here, breakout. Is nothing more than like a little bit of a back test of the Subici cloud before moving forward, right? So I'm not that bearish on Coinbase. I still think that overall it's been making higher highs and higher lows. This whole thing here looks like a big giant channel up. So there's really nothing like really that bearish on Coinbase, just a matter of fact that like how long this correction sideways is gonna be, right? I mean, we did end up bringing down beneath this original range over here. We're kind of getting back to this breakout level over here and back testing this breakout level over here, right? So it's not anything that's surprising in terms of what Coinbase is doing. I think that once it's done, this still looks like a pretty bullish chart overall. It really just looks like it's back testing this level down underneath over here so far as holding. I don't really have anything bearish to say about Coinbase. CleanSpark is a very, very, very interesting thing going on right now. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth of what I think about CleanSpark, and this is coming from somebody who really thought that there was a good chance we might end up breaking inside the Ishimoku cloud, right? Because supposedly the more you hit a resistance, the weaker the resistance gets. Well, guess what? Didn't matter if Bitcoin goes down to 49,000, CleanSpark's going to tank. Didn't matter if VIX turned out to be like 60, CleanSpark's going to tank, right? It's not able to break above, and I think if I show the Subici cloud, it might be a little bit more clear too. It's just a little bit too much junk here. If I show the Subici cloud, I think it's going to be a little bit more clear. It really tried to break inside the Subici cloud over here, but it just couldn't, and it just ended up getting rejected. Well, after it got rejected, where is it going to go? Where's the support zone going to be at? Well, the support zone is really trying to find a higher low by back testing the breakout of this level over here. What is this level over there, you might ask? Well, that level over there is a very important Fibonacci level, 0.236, right? Heavy rejection over there, bad candle being back down, back testing this level 0.136, right? Was able to find support over here, pushed through, pushed through two different Fibonacci levels, hit the 0.5, didn't have enough energy to keep going, had a tweezer appearance, came back down, ranging sideways for about half a year, eventually decided to back test the zone over here, right? So this is still a relatively bullish look because all it is really doing, and I'm going to show you, on a lower time frame here, all it's really doing is doing exactly what you thought it would do, right? As the downtrend happened during the last cycle bear market, it hit the 0.236 level, bounced all the way back up to 0.5, and it broke through it, right? Here, what we're doing right now, well, we hit the 0.236 level, got rejected, came back down, back test, went through two levels, right, 0.5. Very, very similar to the move that we've had. Like sometimes when things are just impulsive, you can break multiple Fibonacci levels, and then what we end up doing is we end up back testing this level. So far is almost like the exact opposite to price action in terms of here and here. I think the mirror trade is still working. I think there is still a little bit of a mirror trade over here. The week has only got it started. I really was hoping that last week we really close above the Fibonacci level over here around 0.236. This week we're not opening underneath of that. And right now that might be a little bit of resistance. But the candle formation so far for Monday actually looks pretty decent, despite the fact that they had earnings on Friday, and despite the fact that they survived a lot of fears and things like that. Actually, it doesn't look too bad, right? So all I'm really seeing is it's just been forming higher highs and higher lows, and it's trying to backtest some very important Fibonacci level as it climbs up. That's all I'm really seeing. A lot of people get really frustrated about this move and this breakdown underneath, right? It's hard to say, because when you have a symmetrical triangle, you can either break up or break down, decide to break down, back test, which is not unlogical, right? The back test down here has really closed a lot of daily gaps. It had closed this gap over here and it's closed this gap over here. Well, you do have a little bit of gap down here, and that gap won't close until 7.39. Do I think that this gap's going to close? Probably not. I have huge doubts actually that gap is going to end up closing. You have to have Bitcoin dropping down like 48, 49K and the VIX to go to like 60 for you to have this move going down, right? So it's going to be very, very tough, I think, to really hit some level down here. Although, never say never. I will never say never, but this looks more and more like a mirror trade the more and more I look at it. So quite interesting. Now, what I'm also seeing here on the weekly chart here is you are seeing a little bit of a gap down over here on the weekly, right? So it looks like it wants to maybe build an island, and that might hut the 0.236 level here for quite some time. You do have something called an island reversal. If the candle over here spends a few weeks over here, down here like that, leaving a gap open, the bears are not able to break it down further to close down some of the gaps or whatever. If you're not able to have that, and it might be hard for it to do because you do have a pretty decent volume shelf over here. If you're not able to do that, next thing you know, there could be a candle where it just ends up gapping up and it just ends up like close, leaving a gap here is never closed. That's always a possibility. It looks like we're having a hard time really trying to bring price down further. Again, never say never, but I do think that the downtrend is a little bit exhausted over here so far. So just to keep that in mind, that is one possibility that it could play out. Another thing too, I also want to keep into consideration. I'm going to turn off the Fibonacci levels over here. I'm just going to use some of the other indicators here. This is a monthly chart, right? You have this EMA ribbon where the 20-month is coming from below and the 50-month is above, right? You have a potential 20-50 monthly bullish cross that could happen, and that's happening right at where the current price is located. So it could be support, and it could also be a flip of strong bear market, really for clean sourcing going on for like years. You're really potentially talking about flip of this bear market into a bull market, and price is currently right at that area, right? Now, in addition to the EMA ribbon, you can also just look at the 20-month moving average. It looks like price just kind of got close to the 20-month simple moving average, and we couldn't really even get close to it, and it just ended up bouncing away from it. So right now, it just seems like if anything, it just seems like a healthy kind of closer back test of a rising 20-month moving average. So far so good, right? And another thing I also want to look at is currently price is way underneath the weekly Bollinger Band, and these things are just not sustainable. I mean, I think what happens, you're going to end up gravitating sideways, and if it does that, it really increases the chances of having a island reversal to go back up a lot higher, right? If you don't know what an island reversal is, look it up. It's a thing, and it looks like it wants to potentially do that. I mean, I just can't see it get closing outside the local Bollinger for all that long. So I think that's it's probably going to be pretty decent moving forward. The weekly Ichimoku cloud, you can also see that right now we're still inside Ichimoku cloud, though there's a good chance we'll end up falling out of it unless we have a big giant bounce, which I don't see happening. Most likely it's going to end up falling out of the Ichimoku cloud, and that's okay. It's not the end all be all. The cloud wasn't that thick to begin with, so even if it breaks underneath, there's also a chance for it to potentially just kind of break back above. I do want to point you to a direction that this right here is the 200-week moving average, and currently price is closing right, not closing, but currently price is hovering right around that area. The interesting thing is I'm also going to put up the 200-week exponential moving average. So underneath is SMA, above is EMA, and price just kind of stuck in the range right now, to be honest. But I think we're getting to some pretty really critical support zone based on the mirror trade, based on the 200-week moving averages, and it's just, and everything, based on Fibonacci level too. I mean, it just looks like we're at a very, very important junction of time here for a clean spark. And of course, I can always be wrong and go down to like 7.39 to close that daily gap. That's always a possibility, but right now it just seems like it's trying to form a higher low before a bullish continuation. So that is my thought for CleanSpark. The other thought would be Mara. Now, Mara, a lot of people have been devastated all the way from this big giant move over the last 3 weeks from 25 all the way down to 15, right? Everybody's like, it's been going sideways for about 8 months. When does the pain end? Like, it's been going sideways for 8 months. If you're a trader, if you care, you'll be very, very happy trading the range. If you're not a trader, if you're an investor, there's no reason to complain. If you're somewhere intermediate, you just want to play the cycle, you worry about whether or not the cycle is over or not. Well, that's a little bit different story. Let's look and see whether or not the cycle is over. Now, I don't think anybody can really tell you that one way or another. This candle over here looks a little bit weird on the weekly. I think it's messing up. I'm going to go ahead and switch to like the daily chart because sometimes trading view is just, messy. On the daily chart, what are you seeing? Well, you're seeing this big giant volume shelf over here. You have the top of the range and you have the bottom of the range. And right now it's closer to the bottom than it is to the top, right? And if you look at the pitchfork, man, I wish I can see. Yeah, the weekly is all messed up. I'm gonna do a 2-day. It might be some like a good intermediary thing here. If you just look at the 2-day chart, you can see that price has really just been forming a new channel on the way up, and it's just basically tested the bottom of the channel over here. So it's not really that big of a deal, right? On top of that, it's not just the bottom of the channel, it's also confluent with the 0.136 Fibonacci level. If you do a Fibonacci level sequence all the way from the cycle high to the cycle low, this is going to be at 0.136, and we touched 0.136 many times already. Over here as rejection, over here as support, right? Third time we're touching it. Also confluent with this, this move up here on the pitchfork here at the light blue line over here after it got rejected off of this orange line over here. So as far as I can tell, it is still a channel up. And as far as I can tell, we're at the bottom of the range, both in terms of the 0.382 range and 0.136 range horizontally, as well as the pitchfork range over here and down here, right? So we're really at the bottom part of the range. So if anything, one should be more bullish than they are bearish. But guess what? Most people right now are bearish. And that's just how it goes, I guess, right? The 2-day chart, let me see. Yeah, the weekly chart's messing up because this candle, it really should be like touching all the way over here. And it's bounced right off the spot. But I don't know, like sometimes trading view is just a little bit weird. Doesn't matter though, this looks like an uptrend. And all I have to really say is that they did have an offering today. And even with the offering today that they announced before hours, it did bring price down, but it's still not touching the bottom of the range, right? I don't know what else to say about Mara besides the fact that it's at the bottom of the range and one should be more bullish than bearish. And on top of that, if I just turn off all of this stuff right here, just look at the overall chart here. Matter of fact, I can turn it back on and we can see this a lot more clear, and the price stuck between these two Fibonacci levels here for a very, very long time. But if you also pull up the Super Ichi cloud, you can see that cloud got rejected from the price got rejected from the bottom of the Super Ichi cloud and just kind of went back down. As it goes down, it looks like it wants to test the bottom of the range again. Right now we're underneath the bottom of the range, which is the Tenkan over here, is around 16.06. I bet by the end of the month we're going to end up closing back above that because we're stuck in a range, and that's what I expected to do. Just like over here, this candle, like you have some wick down to like 14.5, but end up closing the month back inside of it. I suspect they're probably going to end up doing the same. So really, Mara, in every sense of the word, is stuck in the range and is really at the bottom of the range, right? So I can't really be that bearish when it comes to Mara. And the couple other things too, instead of just looking at Super Ichi, you also have an Ichimoku cloud bullish cross over here. The price kind of broke underneath of that. But to look at the 20-month moving average, we are still above of that, and the 20-month moving average is still nicely pointing up, right? So again, another definition as to why we're at the bottom of the range, right? We're no longer way outside of Bollinger Band for a couple months in a row. Right now we're back testing the median over here, right? So closer to the bottom of the range again. There is a lot of skepticism in terms of what's happening with Mara. There's a lot of skepticism right now. I remember hearing the skepticism when price was going up from like $8 to like around 30 something dollars. I don't remember hearing those kind of criticisms. And right now, hearing those criticisms actually brings a lot of confidence in me that I think Mara is going to go higher. Now, I'm gonna talk crazy here. I'm gonna talk crazy here. What if, just what if we are talking, and if you like Rayleigh wave, what are we talking about? This is wave one. You know, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subwaves, and you're talking about the ABC correction. And this is the greater wave 1 over here. This is the greater wave 2. What if we are just starting wave 3? Wave 3 is supposed to be the longest and the biggest. What if we're just starting wave 3, and wave 3 could go potentially a lot longer? What if this whole thing right here was wave 1 of 3, and over here is wave 2 of 3, and the wave 3 of 3, which is supposed to be the most powerful one, has not even really started yet? What if that is the case? I don't think anybody really, like, at this particular point, because it's been so painful, and people are bullish on miner right now at the bottom of the range, including myself. We're being made fun of. I actually, this is actually a spot that I feel pretty good about, to be honest. And just to take into consideration too, why is price stuck here for so long? Well, because you have two different levels here. You have the level over here that serves as support that we broke down, and you have a level over here that serves as resistance over here that we broke above. And right now, essentially, price is basically stuck in a range over here and stuck in a range over here. And it's been stuck here for about 8 months. But the thing is, this is still a channel up. This is still a channel up. So I can't really be that bearish right here at the bottom of the range. I just cannot. Anyway, that's Mara. I'm going to go through the rest of the stock here relatively quickly. Bitfarms, it looks the same. It has the same channel, and it's also stuck between two Fibonacci level, the 0.36 and the 0.382. It's the same chart, except that Bitfarm actually looks a bit more bullish than Mara. The fact that, it's, let me see here on the weekly here, it still somehow managed to just, still stay inside the weekly Ichimoku cloud. Mara's already fallen out of it. Clean spot's still inside, but I bet it probably will fall out. Somehow Bitfarm's still able to manage to stay inside. We'll see when it's staying inside or not. But also, if you just look at a Fibonacci level too, it's getting closer to the 0.236 here, whereas Mara is still a little bit far away from the 0.236. I guess I deleted it, but anyway, it's close. Mara is closer to 0.136 than 0.236, whereas Bitfarm is a little bit closer to the middle of the range here. So I cannot really be that bearish on Bitfarms. Just looking at the monthly Ichimoku, is still stuck in a range. It's still stuck between the Tenkan and the Kijun. It just looks more bullish. CIFR also had a bullish cross. Currently prices underneath the Kijun. No big deal, because if you look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud, it looks absolutely beautiful. What it did is it basically just kind of ride up and then got rejected here by the top of the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, came back down and tested the weekly Ichimoku cloud, found support. So far price is above the Ichimoku cloud. So this is actually one of the more bullish looking miners, because it's just been consolidating sideways for so long. It looks like it wants to break out, but we're still working our way up. But I'm leaning very bullish on this chart here. IREN looks the same. I hate the fact that like these sometimes TradingView just kind of messes up the candles over here. This weekly candle is supposed to gone down a lot lower. I think it actually gone down all the way to like 6.08 and actually pushed through the cloud, and then it found support from the bottom of the cloud. And then right now we're kind of stuck inside like an inside candle over here, and it's a little bit indecisive. But I hate when TradingView does this, where it just kind of messes up the candle. Anyway, there's nothing bearish about this chart. It's backtesting a breakout horizontal level. There's nothing bearish about it. WULF, same thing. Nothing bearish about it. Backtesting a breakout horizontal level. I overall, no matter how many people might be like making fun of these stocks, I still actually I'm getting more and more bullish on it. I don't know, and it's crazy talk, right? Like I'm just anyway. I'm sorry, but it's crazy talk. But I just can't get too bearish. Like in the IREN, just look at it. It's still at the 0.236 Fibonacci level, and it's basically just back tested this confluence of this symmetrical triangle over here at the apex of it almost perfectly. Like this is crazy, you know. I don't know like how much more confluence you need. Yeah, I mean, TerraWolf. Initially I could potentially see it coming back down a little bit further, to like 2.7 or something like that, but it's holding a level here just fine. We'll see. I mean, there's still a risk of breaking down a little bit further, but so far so good. I mean, it did back test the 2.8 level over here. The weekly candle's messed up. The 2-day chart, you can see it back tested the horizontal level over here. I do think TerraWolf's probably ready to go. I think TerraWolf's ready to go. It got rejected right here at 0.36 almost perfectly, and back tested this horizontal breakout here almost perfectly at a volume shelf. TerraWolf looks good. Most miners actually look pretty decent here at this level, to be honest with you. This is BTBT. Not much is happening in BTBT. All I really say about BTBT is stuck in a range. But the one good thing about BTBT is it's also, just like CleanSpark, just like Mora, is riding up along with a positive sloping 20-month moving average. So there's that going for it. HUD8, same thing, right? But HUD8 is stuck underneath the 0.136. So, it might lag behind a little bit more now, but it doesn't look bad. RIOT, though, RIOT is one that I can't really be entirely too bullish on. It's still stuck underneath a rising, 20-month moving average. It's just made another lower low. So this is one that is definitely lagging behind. I'm sorry, but one that I do want to talk a little bit about real quick is this stock called MIGI. And I've been asked to chart this before. It made like a 70% move today. Would I buy here? Probably not, because it's at resistance over here at the 20-month moving average. It is at the resistance here at the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. If I put up the Ichimoku, I guess this still has a little bit more room to go here on the weekly. But I just don't like, the fact that it just made a big giant move. Like I generally like to stay away from something like that. Can it keep going higher? Sure, but looking at the lower time frame, I'm starting to, worry that it is hitting, a pretty strong horizontal resistance over here at that level, right? But and also it's just simply just a little bit, overextended here on the weekly on the weekly Bollinger Band. It's also getting a little bit overextended here on the daily chart over here too, right? So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think that whenever something makes like 71%, I probably want to stay away from that a little bit more. But there's no absolute. I mean, those are just my general thoughts. Anyway, probably went on a little bit too long with this video. I already talked for like 30 minutes. Have a good one. Bye.